Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Indie Escape presents Cymbalistic Cynicism. We return with more of the cast of A Savannah Haunting. I'm bringing you Jaelyn, Nico, William, and Alexis. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Jaelyn, Nico, please introduce yourselves. You go first, Jaelyn.
Hi, my name is Jaelyn Buffkin, and I play Alice.
Nico, tell us.
Hi, I'm Nico, and I play Andrew.
Andrew, gotcha. Alexis and Mark, please feel free to reintroduce yourselves.
Hey, I'm Alexis Nelson, and I'm the producer of A Savannah Haunting.
I'm William Mark McCullough. I am the writer and director and producer of Savannah Haunting.
So we had a pre-release interview with a lot of the cast. Alexis and Mark have joined us then. Jaelyn and Nico are joining us now. They are two of the stars of A Savannah Haunting, which was released Halloween 2022, that weekend. We're going to have more of the cast coming on a little later. Jaelyn, so regarding your character, this will start with spoiler-free information. How was the interview process? Did they ask you to do anything? Because everybody can tell from the trailer you've played a ghost, and you seem to be, dead majority of the movie. So tell us a little bit about the interview process and, what it was like portraying a ghost, I guess. Yeah.
It was really fun, actually. I got to swim in a pool, but the pool was freezing that time, so. But yeah, other than that, it was fun. I did an audition. I did an audition with Mark one time, and he chose me to be it.
Wow. Well, I was told that it was Mark your mentor, I believe I've been told, in the like an acting coach, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the makeup was actually done, but when my eyes turned black, that was all special effects.
So Mark, tell us a little bit about, working with Jaelyn behind the scenes and prior to production and pre-production.
Absolutely. I'd started coaching Jaelyn a couple of years before we made A Savannah Haunting. So I already knew that she was charming. She had a great look for the movie. And, one of the key things when it comes to working with children are their parents, because you're hiring both the child and the parent. And, sometimes parents are not easy to work with in the entertainment industry. So I knew Jaelyn's mom well. Her name's Tina, and she's a sweetheart. So, when you're shooting an independent film, and especially under the stresses that we had with COVID, part of the process is getting people who are just team players. And we knew that Tina and Jaelyn would be team players. And Jaelyn, we already had a rapport because I'd worked with her and, I adore her. So she's so great to have on set. What's interesting is originally the character had no lines. And working with Jaelyn, I was able to write lines in, and I kept expanding the character just because she was so good and so easy to work with. So,
Jaelyn, did you, or maybe whoever happens to know this, because I don't recall Jaelyn's character having any lines, or were in the final?
Trust me, I've seen the movie 10,000 times. She has lots of lines.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Many of her lines are when the mom is asleep.
Mm-hmm.
The character's talking to her. There's one scene that Jaelyn has a lot of lines, and we had to cut the scene, although Jaelyn's amazing in it, and it was one of my favorite scenes because it's the only scene that I, as an actor, got to work with Jaelyn. But we had to cut it because it just slowed down the climax of the movie too much.
Here we go. Nico, you there? Oh, much clearer now and much smoother connection. Okay, so Nico, tell us a little bit about your role. And let's start with the audition process. Tell us a little bit about that before the movie, before you were on to the movie.
I remember in the audition process that we were in this studio, and we did a few scenes from the movie, and we would, I'm pretty sure we acted it out a little differently each time.
Sounds about right, yeah. So what do you know? What it was that got them to give you the role? I believe Alexis told me you were really in character from the beginning of your audition. From what she's told me, like you brought something that a lot of people didn't. A lot of the other kids didn't have. She said.
He probably wouldn't know that because he wasn't in the room for the other kids.
Oh, right. I know. I just like
he just
I'm
probably
just,
did his thing, but he was amazing he was amazing on tape when he first submitted the taped audition, and then we called our finalists in for the callbacks in person, and he just blew us all away. Like we thought he was amazing. So
that's great.
He didn't get to see the other kids do their thing.
We didn't know, like for Nico. I mean, he just came in and he was just so serious, and he was exactly who we envisioned Andrew, just how he was behaving and acting. And, you know, Mark and I laugh about this later, but then he shows up to set and he's just this different person. Like he's this really sweet, outgoing, laughing, making jokes. I mean, he just made people laugh. Everywhere he goes, he makes people laugh and he's sweet. We're like, well, you weren't like this at all during the audition. And then he says, oh, I was in character.
Thank you.
From what I've been told and what I've heard, the house that Mark lives in, where you film the movie, is indeed actually haunted. Did you kids have any really creepy experiences during production? Did you have any experiences that really scared you, or what would I say, like made it difficult for you to act or get ready behind the scenes?
So we were in the house alone because they were filming the pool scene with Nico, and we heard a faint piano noise, and there's really no neighbors close by, and there's no piano in the house, and we heard a faint piano noise. And if like outside heard it, then they would have had to stop filming until it stopped, but it wasn't outside.
Interesting. It's the piano sound that just comes out. Yeah, I play piano, so if I heard my piano playing on its own, I'd get concerned because nearly no one else I know in my household growing up besides one person plays piano.
Hey, Jaelyn, can I ask you a quick question? Did you recognize the song?
No, I don't really remember the song. I just know it was piano.
Because it's interesting because I was taping an audition a couple months ago here where I'm sitting right now, and it was totally quiet in the room. And then when I got ready to edit the audition, there was piano music in the background, and it was playing some weird notes. And I sent it to Alexis, and she listened to it and sent it to like a music person. But yeah, so that's twice that we've heard the little piano playing here.
So have you identified the piece, Mark, or not? Still not yet. It's just the same song.
It was scales, I think. I think someone said it sounded like scales. It was just scales.
It's like what a child uses to learn to play the piano is what the notes were playing. Almost like a little kid was learning to play piano.
I learned that. I had to learn that when I first started. Yeah, I hear that. Nico, any crazy stories from behind the scenes?
I didn't have any creepy experiences, but I did hear most of all of the people on set did. So
maybe the ghosts liked you. They didn't want to mess with you.
Maybe.
We
Who knows?
definitely made sure to protect these little guys. You know, like for
Of
us,
course.
you know, she said Jaelyn was alone. She wasn't actually alone.
Well, I was my mom.
You know, no, she had her mom. You know, they always had somebody around them. But, you know, I mean, like, I think that maybe people who are older have had more, you know, expenses, you know, maybe a little more sensitive in the past, probably had more experiences, but we would never let anything scary or too bad happen to these guys because, you know, there are babies too when you're filming. Like, you know, these are the kids and everybody keeps an eye out for them.
So I'd like to, let me bring up the trailer so people can see you guys, Nico and Jaelyn in character. And then I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to bring up some more spoiler-oriented questions, but I'm going to bring up the trailer first, and then we'll transition to those questions, okay?
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Here we go, everyone. This is the trailer to A Savannah Haunting.
Mama! Rachel, what brings you to Savannah?
I think we were looking for a fresh start. We had twins, Andrew and Alice. Everything changed after she died. I have a really good feeling about this move.
Why is there a cemetery in the woods in the back of my house? This is where they buried the family members in the sleigh.
I keep hearing things, seeing things.
You made her angry, Mommy.
Who, baby?
You know who.
I think I'm being haunted by Alice.
I heard stories about this piece of land when I was a little girl.
What are you talking about?
There are breaches in the walls of hell. One of them lies beneath this house.
She didn't come back alone.
Mom's been really off lately.
She's just tired.
What are you doing?
I wanted to make sure Andrew was all right.
Why do you have a knife?
I'm scared.
I'm doing much, much better.
Okay, so now I'm gonna get into some spoiler-related questions. Did Jaelyn or Nico? Did you guys know? And Jaelyn and Nico, did you guys know the ending? Did you guys know the ending before filming your character's story line?
And also, just a quick note about that. So they had edited. Their script didn't include everything because there's some stuff that isn't appropriate for for kids. Yeah. So there may be some things that they don't know about.
Oh, okay.
Warning.
Okay.
There's certain parts that, and like the movie, they haven't seen the whole movie.
Of course.
Either. Yeah.
I understand that. Yeah. So the answer is, I guess, no to the end twist, I guess.
I saw a little bit of it. I just wasn't allowed to see all of it.
The movie or the twist?
I saw most of it. I just wasn't allowed to see parts of it.
Of course. No, I understand that. Same with you, Nico.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you guys know the twists at the end regarding Jaelyn's character, right?
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay. Maybe one day you'll be able to. Soon in the future you'll be able to see the full cut.
Only 8 years to go.
Only 8 years to go.
4 years.
But who's counting? Right? Listen, can I tell you something? I know you guys were at the Savannah premiere, right?
Yes.
So the next day, or was it 2 days later, Alexis and I were at the LA premiere, and it was a lot of fun. I did watch it though, because it was released on digital the day before the LA premiere, so I watched it on digital. I couldn't wait. I mean, obviously, I wanted to watch with everybody at the premiere, but at the time, I think we weren't 100% if the premiere was happening, and then right before it was released, and I had already pre-ordered the movie. I couldn't, I was getting Alexis and Mark and everybody really got me very pumped up for the movie. But no, it's funny because when I went in, I caught to the movie, the premiere, I caught things I didn't realize initially. Like when I first watched the edit, so I'm sitting next to Alexis, like holy, yeah, I just caught that. Like that just creeped me out. So like there were certain, and to the point where I'm like, because I know the place is haunted, I was like, was that you guys, or was that one of the hauntings caught on camera? So because I know you guys said, Alexis, you said you're not sure if there were any actual hauntings caught in.
I don't know. I mean, like on the behind the scenes cameras, we did catch some stuff, which is really cool. But that's like our behind the scenes cameras that are rolling. So on camera, I'm not sure. I mean, we've had some people reach out and like point out some shapes and shadows and things. So, I can't say for sure what those were, if they were something supernatural or if it's just, somehow a light maybe caught somebody. But behind the scenes, we did actually catch some stuff.
And here's the difference too. Like, let's take any scene in the movie. We may have done 10 takes or more from different angles, right? And I'm just going to pick one take per angle to use. So there may be things that appeared in some of that footage that Alexis wouldn't have seen because she didn't edit the film, right? But the behind the scenes footage, those cameras were running just continuously showing a particular moment so it's a little easier to find stuff in that because we just had so many takes of things for the stuff that ended up in the film. I mean, recently someone reached out to me with one of the scenes and said that there was this shadow figure in the background that we didn't put in there, right? So I think that's possibly one. But when I was editing the movie, working with the editor, like that's not what we were looking for, right? We were looking for performances and framing and things like that. So right. I wouldn't be surprised, but I would have guessed that most of the things that you saw were things that Alexis and I decided to put in there. They were
right.
We wanted these little subtle, creepy moments that on a first watch, most people would not see most of them, but on second, third, and fourth watches, they would jump out. And because that kind of replicates what it's like living in a haunted house. Things usually aren't just jumping out at you. They're very subtle. And it's usually when you're in a place for a little while, seeing the same things over and over that really starts to hit home as to what's going on. So we thought it'd be a really fun way to kind of replicate that in a movie. So it's not going to make you jump, but when you catch it, it's a little shocking. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because Alexis is trying to get James Wan to come, and I know what he did in Insidious. He did that in Insidious, the Insidious films, because the atmosphere and the music is playing, it's nice music, so you're not even looking for these things. So you're not. It looks like basically, it's just a piece of clothing, but you realize somebody's standing right next to the woman when she walks by, and she doesn't even notice. Mm-hmm. So it's like I realized that like you're not catching these subtle things until later viewings.
It's interesting because working with our sound designer, he didn't see most of the things, right? And so we pointed them out to him. He's like, I've watched that scene 100 times. I never noticed it. And then when he did see them, he would often, as most sound designers would do, he would add in, a musical cue or a sound design cue that
boom or a whoosh.
Yeah, there's something scary. And we're like, no, get rid of that. We don't want to draw attention to it. We want it to be very subtle, So it'd be fun to see if like the hardcore fans could actually find because we have a lot of little hidden Easter eggs in the film. I'd love to see who actually sees all of them because I've yet to talk to anyone who's seen all of the little secret things we put in there.
There's one towards the beginning of the film. It's an outside scene and no one has found it yet.
It's quick, but it's there.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
The power
and Jaelyn can talk about that because she's in one of the main ones, right? With the aquarium.
Yes.
Everyone's seen
she's in two. The aquarium and when Vanessa and James are leaving, she's in one.
Mm-hmm. But do you want to talk about that, Jaelyn, what it was like to shoot, remember, for the aquarium? Did we like stick you in an aquarium and make you swim?
No.
What did we do?
I wanted to.
Died. So I was just against the aquarium.
We just dunked her in, right? We dunked. No. How did you do the aquarium scene? Do you remember the little pool?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember the green screen pool that you put me in.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell the audience how you did it?
So I went into the water and I don't really remember that much.
It's been a while now. So we had a little kid, like a green kiddie pool, and we can send you some pictures if you want to use them for anything. But she just laid in the kiddie pool and just not that much water, just enough water so that her hair would float around. Okay. Right? We just needed that motion of her hair so that it looked like she was floating in the aquarium, but her face, everything else was out. And then we had her dress, floating a little bit in there too. And then so that's what we put into the aquarium behind. So Rachel, when she's first in the house, it's towards the beginning of the film and she walks by the aquarium. And that's when you really see Alice. It's funny because some people have missed it, but it's probably the most like obvious of the additions that we put in.
Because I know the very opening scene where Jenna is like sleeping in the car, all you're hearing is Jaelyn screaming "mommy" and like the hands like waving in the water like she's in a pool drowning. So that's all I remember from that beginning. So I do have to rewatch it again.
It's a little later. It's later than that. Yeah.
No, yeah. And I know, Nico, you had to go in the pool like what Jalen's character was supposed, So yeah, I assume there was a lot of safety precautions, and it must have been freezing. Did they warm the water? 'Cause I feel like that's dangerous in the middle of the night to make a kid go in the pool in his pajamas in the middle of the night.
It was not as cold as
Mhm.
you would think.
It was August.
It was
Yeah.
August. Okay.
Yeah. It was about normal
And
temperature.
Savannah. Okay.
But they did have hand warmers.
Okay.
And we had a lot of safety. We had water safety experts who were in the pool with them at the same time. We had folks on the outside with them. And, we talked to Nico first, and he said he was looking forward to it, and he was an expert swimmer. So he did an amazing job of making it look so real. But we definitely had a full staff of stunt folks and water safety folks right outside of camera. Like literally that wide shot where you see Nico splashing underneath the water with the air tank on is our water safety expert there, just in case something was to happen.
Little spoiler. I wake up and I'm walking through the hall of the house because Alice, she's luring me outside, and I'm following her, and I go out onto the pool deck, and eventually I'm keep walking and walking, and eventually I fall into the pool, and then they cut right there, and then it's a new scene where I'm just splashing around in the water, pretending like I'm drowning.
And then who saves you?
My dad.
Dean, right? Dean West?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Jaelyn, I know there were some really they had some really clever scenes where Jenna was holding you, but before she was holding you, she was holding the doll, and the camera panned to the mirror, and it wasn't the doll, it was you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Around the end of the movie, there's like a scene where Jenna is holding me, and then it switches out to Tommy is like behind her.
Yes. It almost gave like a little. I was thinking, wait, is Tommy connected to your character? Or is she related? Because there was a spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen it. I know there was a point where they brought up the family before Nico's family came in, that the little girl drowned in the pool, and later on we realized who it really was, and that it was almost like foreshadowing, but not the type of foreshadowing we thought in terms of what was really playing out in the overall story.
There is a connection, and that's the scene that we deleted with Jaelyn in it. That explains the connection, like I said, the mythology of what's going on in the house.
Really?
But there's a very, very strong connection between those two characters and the character of William. Though, like I said, now it's kind of like up in the air because we had to get rid of that scene.
Up to
but had that scene
speculation.
remained, it had been very clear what that connection is. So
And the end sort of, does connect that when you see her turn, and then Lilith is there too, and she's in the same dress, so it does kind of tie them, but it leaves it a little bit open. Like, we didn't want to just, tie everything with a big bow at the end and say, okay, here's the movie done. Now you have all the answers, everything, because, that's not as fun. It's kind of nice to leave some, cliffhangers, and there's more to answer for another day.
It's interesting. I always thought Nico's bedroom was at the top floor because you always see Jaelyn coming to him, right? I know, but you always see Jaelyn, and I always see you you're in the upper window, and he's always the one you're coming to. So then I realized, like, wait a minute, this, and then she said, oh, he's not allowed upstairs, so I'm confused. And then you realize the pantry, the underground stairs is in his closet. So he can't be at the top floor because how is, you know what I mean? So
not only that, like there's multiple scenes where we see his bedroom is at the end of that long hallway.
Right.
Literally his and April's bedroom are across from each other.
Yeah.
At one point, several times, mom goes into Andrew's bedroom, you see her step out of his bedroom and step into April's. So yeah, we tried the geography of it. Now the geography in the film is a little different than the geography of the actual house.
Right.
Just because we're shooting in a real house, it's like the little boy's room. There is a real room at the end of the hallway, but it was too small to actually get a film crew in there and shoot in. So we had to create a fake room for his bedroom. But the geography of downstairs is the same. But yeah, he's on the bottom floor across his and April's room are right across from each other.
Gotcha. Now, I actually want to ask Jaelyn and Nico regarding, like, did you, before you were on camera and officially filming of, the final cut and not final cut, like filming all your official scenes and the takes, did you spend time with Jenna and Dean and what was it, Annette? What was it?
Tommy, Anna, Harriet.
And Harriet. Like to get into like that family character, like to get into that relationship between all of you. How did you get into character, or like at least in terms of interaction with your co-stars, your family members?
No, I don't think we did anything like that.
Because the relationship seems so. I mean, I know Jaelyn, you didn't, but I mean you and Jenna, but I know Nico more. But I mean Jenna, you and Jenna really had that bond. So I wasn't sure if that was just when you got on camera, or you actually did got closer off camera prior, spend time to get to know each other and bond. I wasn't sure, because I know sometimes people do that.
I did it a little bit, but not really.
Okay.
I mean, in our film, there was, the actors had holding areas where they all kind of hung out together. So there wasn't like special set aside time for them to bond.
Right.
But all the actors spent a lot of time around each other just by the nature of, they weren't like off in separate trailers. If they were on set, they were all in the same place.
Right.
Dean is a dad, so I think he's a little extra friendly. Nico, like, who do you think you had the most fun with from the family?
Say Mark.
From the family.
Oh, okay.
Not the neighbors.
I really can't decide. They were all super fun to hang around.
I don't blame you. You don't want to throw anybody under the bus.
Yeah. And
the funniest?
They were all super nice and funny.
Which one was the funniest?
Don't be compelled to say Mark. Don't let him. Don't let him pressure
not
you.
Part of the family.
I know, but I know he's gonna try to get him.
None of them are here, so you can say anything you want.
They're gonna come on later. I'm just kidding.
I'm trying to remember.
So there's Dean is the dad, or Jenna is the mom, or Anna, Harriet plays your sister.
I don't really remember any of the jokes, but I do remember Dean really being very funny.
Jaelyn, what do you think? Who is the funniest?
Yeah, it was probably either Mark or Dean.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're biased there.
Funniest.
Yeah, it was probably either Mark or Dean.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're biased there because I'm just kidding. Mark's definitely funny. I find Dean funny too. I'm just
Dean's much funnier than I am.
So modest, Mark.
Yeah, no, I'm just not a very funny person.
Dean wins. Dean's the silly. Dean would be the number one. I think Dean was probably the silliest one on set, right? Would we vote him for the silliest?
When you embrace your silliness, you are indeed funnier than most. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mark. I always tell people I think those who think they are so funny are not so funny. That's why I'm not so funny. So when you claim you're funny, you're actually not as funny as you are. Right. It's the ones who are modest who are modest. So basically, by what you were saying, you are funnier than Dean. I'm just saying, just from what I know. Jaelyn's
like no.
Jaelyn's like no. Why are you saying Mark? I'm sorry.
I'm definitely sweeter than Dean, though, right, Jaelyn?
It's close tie.
Well, what was that, Jaelyn?
It's close tie.
Close tie. Because I realized she had a little bit of a hesitation there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you do have to maintain sanity, especially when filming a horror movie. So it's good to be able to laugh and joke and have fun on set. You know, I know some movies people even play like pranks on each other during filming. Some actors I know they had like fart machines, no joke, behind the scenes to make like on the Saw movies, like the director and the like actors had fart machines around set just to be able to laugh. No joke, they really did. It's on the And
Do
also,
you guys remember the prank that you pulled on Mark? Do you remember at the end? We were at the plantation and you guys all had something that was matching.
No.
White t-shirts, and you guys all got dressed up the same. It hasn't been that long, has it?
That was like a third of their life ago.
I know. They all put on. So Mark wears a lot of the same clothes. You may notice this sometimes. He typically
A lot of the same types of clothes. It's not literally the same clothes.
the same shirt every day, right?
oh, you meant in the movie itself?
No, in real life. In real life and in the movie, because he just wanted to wear the same clothes. But he usually wears a white or a black t-shirt and jeans. And he has a lot of white shirts. It's not just one, but it's quicker in the morning to get ready. You just grab the same style. You don't have to think through it, I guess. That's what, geniuses do or something, or fashion used to. Yeah. So anyway, the cast all showed up. They went and got changed, and they all showed up and they had the same exact clothes as Mark did, which was a V-neck white t-shirt and jeans. And everybody had it, like Nico, Jaelyn, Jenna, Dean, they all had on the same outfit. And then funny. Mark walks up and just kind of, doesn't even notice for a little bit, and it took him a minute. And then we were all laughing. So
what happened was we were on lunch break, and I always like sat by myself in my car to eat on lunch break just to get like a little mental break and have some alone time. And I was called and said, hey, we need you on set. There's an issue with the actors. So I'm like in like work mode, right? So I go to set and they're all together and I'm talking to them, trying to figure out what the problem was. And it just dawned on me, they all look like me. And it just hit me. I think it was when I saw Nico with the white V-neck t-shirt as well. I was like,
I know this is
fun of me. Okay, I get it.
It would have been really funny if they did that at the premiere as opposed to on set. That would have been funny, right? No, they would. I know you guys couldn't do that. You wouldn't be able to go to a premiere with a white V-neck and a. No, I was going to mention.
And Jenna actually made a full life-size doll of me that you could stand behind. Like it didn't have a head, but it had the t-shirt and the jeans, and like actors or crew could stand behind it and take a picture.
When I was at the LA premiere, when Mark came out, with his tight white V-neck, it looks like he was doing all this work. You could hear women in the background go, like whistling and like making comments. I'm just saying, Mark wasn't at our premiere, so I have to just let you know that.
Because that did not happen at my premiere.
Maybe because they knew you were there, so they didn't want to throw themselves under the bus. Before we close up, Jaelyn, Nico, is there any other stories, details, anything from behind the scenes, even from filming, your favorite scene, your favorite, that you've done, whether what you've seen or what you performed in, or anything you'd like to bring up, like to share with everybody? Please don't hold back. Jaelyn, go ahead.
So we made clay characters of all the figures, and Mark actually happens to be in his white t-shirt and jeans.
Oh, he's gonna go get the collection. I want a set.
Oh boy.
Jaelyn, you need to send me a set, and then that's your exchange for the dragon, I think.
Well, unfortunately, little Nico's character has fallen down.
Oh,
but, can you guys see that in the reflection?
Oh my
God! But there's Mom and Dad and April, and there's Tommy, and there's me, and there's Alice.
So who made these? Did you?
Jaelyn did.
Me and my mom made them.
They're great. They're great.
Fantastic.
We should sell them as collector's items.
Hold on to whatever you don't send to Alexis. Hold on to that, Jaelyn. Okay.
Well, I'm not getting rid of that.
Oh, I'm sure, Mark. I'm saying, but Jaelyn, you
and one of Alexis.
Oh, there's me.
That's great. And Alexis wasn't even in the film, so I feel like that your.
Those worry me, like having those out there, especially with some of our fans who are, into
Jaelyn, keep those away from voodoo witch doctors, okay?
But let me just say something before we get off here with the young actors. They were absolutely amazing. Both Jaelyn and Nico, they showed up on set ready to work. I don't think Nico messed up a single line the entire movie, which I have never worked on a movie as an actor where I didn't screw up lots of lines. And Nico just slammed them. Jaelyn was amazing. They were super easy to work with. They were both fun and charming. Their parents were awesome. Like it was like we won the lottery of casting child actors when we cast those two, because they're amazing in the film. They're both, Nico could not be any more handsome. Jaelyn could not be any more beautiful, and just so compelling. So I feel every time I watch the movie, I feel so lucky that we got those two actors to be a part of our movie.
Thank you.
Amen. And you guys don't have to kiss up to him as a thank you, just FYI. But you can if you want to. I'm saying don't feel compelled to. Nico, I know you guys probably have to go soon. Nico, did you have any experiences behind the scenes? Any favorite scenes you had filming? Anything you want to tell us that you haven't talked about yet?
My favorite scene was probably one of the bloody nose scenes, because it was really cool how they did it, how it looked so real, but was not blood at all. It was just like fake blood, but it really looked so real, and it was cool how they did it. Go watch A Savannah Haunting, or She Will Haunt You.
Watch your back.
That is part one of the interview. Here I am with returning guest Mark McCullough. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Good. I'm going to bring Dean in. It looks like, Dean, can you hear me? I know Alexis stepped out for a second. So while I have you on, Dean, well, first I want to just bring up a note that somebody commented. Hey, how you doing, Dean?
What's up?
Good to see you again.
Stogie or anything.
So you can't hear anything?
Oh no, I can hear everything. I was upset that I didn't prepare with a cigar and nothing. Mark looks all super cool, and
I thought Mark was pre-gaming.
I've got a shirt on over here.
No, but my friend Ken asked, are Jaelyn and Nico actually allowed to watch a horror movie? But I think they already answered that question. But regarding that story about your white shirt, and I'm sorry, when we had that first interview with the kids, I didn't have enough chance to prepare because Alexis and I scheduled it really last minute. Hey, Alexis, how are you? Is Brittany still coming? Oh, hold on. What? You're muted. Your mic is muted. 1 second, I'm trying to unmute, but I have to do it on your end.
There you go.
Oh, there you are. We can't hear you. No. Can talk? Go ahead, Alexis. Check your mic. Check your mic settings. We can't hear you.
How about now?
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Great.
So, is Brittany coming?
I don't think she's going to join us right now. Let's go on without her.
No problem. So, we're talking about Mark's white shirt, and I did not have enough time to prepare to bring up all these photos for the previous interview, which aired just prior to this. So here's the one. I think this was the second scene you were in when Jenna invited you to do the upstairs room to look like a little girl's bedroom. As weird and creepy as that sounds. I'm just kidding. And also I wanted to bring up, and I found this shot. I found a few shots online, but also on the Savannah Haunting page when Jaelyn was talking about you, Alexis, were talking with Jaelyn about the pool. This is that pool, I believe you two were talking about. That little kiddie pool she was discussing. Yeah.
Right.
Was that when you guys filmed that opening sequence where she's seemingly drowning? Was that scene?
No, that was actually the scene where she's floating in the aquarium when her mom walks through the front living room before she goes to the psychiatrist for the first time. And she's just a very quick shot. She's just floating there. We didn't want to put her in the aquarium. Yeah,
that's why it was green. Okay, now I see. Now I get it.
And we needed that because we wanted her hair to move around in the water.
You wanted to like a like a mermaid, like yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if it was just flat down, it wouldn't look right. So the hair moves around, and then also her dress has a little bit of a watery feel to it as well.
By the way, the fact that you guys shot in so much daylight, both indoors and outdoors, you got some beautiful backlights, like in terms of natural light. Like this silhouette, I since I watched I just want to say since I started the film, that was like one of the most gorgeous shots. And I think you also posted you have a BTS shot of when you guys shot that. And I just want to bring that up because like or I guess it was from the other angle. And regarding the scene you spoke about earlier on, Mark, I also wanted to bring up that shot. That was, I believe, that was from the scene that didn't make the final cut, right? That was the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the one where Jaelyn was really mad at Mark because that was her favorite scene, and so they went and had lunch last month, and she was really upset at him. We weren't sure why she was so upset, and he's like, "You cut my favorite scene." So then what he did is he turned it around and blamed me. So then he told Jaelyn, "Well, actually, Alexis is the one who cut out that scene." So then she's like, "Oh, okay, it was Alexis." So then I had to talk to her on the phone and explain to her that, like, unfortunately, it wasn't me, and I blamed Dean. And I said, "You know what? This was actually Dean's fault that this whole thing happened, right? It was Dean who did this. And he made that decision to cut that out. So I'm going to put it back on Dean now."
I had a lot of producer decisions, which I'm fine with. I ended up getting a larger portion of the check at the end of the day. So most of the money's coming back to me later. So it's going to be, it'll be worth it to have Jaelyn really angry at me until she gets old enough to do some damage.
Right.
I always remind my my friends' parents, or not necessarily my parents. I can't really do that. That remember, your kids are the ones. I say your kids are the ones that choose your nursing home. Luckily, since spoiler, Alice wasn't really your daughter, let alone your real life daughter. You don't have to worry about that anger coming back to haunt you, pun intended.
Yeah, I have a 3-year-old, and I've seen the anger that comes from that. So I can't imagine it get worse.
This generation, my generation, 3-year-olds were not so witty. This generation, it's terrifying. Yeah, my little cousin scares me sometimes. Okay, so I actually wanted to. Okay, so I want to ask some questions about this because Nico spoke about the pool scene, and I think this was when you guys were probably in setting up to film, and he was talking about and Mark, you were telling about you had all those. I see you have like lifeguards and all the crew, but like you're talking about it, you took safety precautions throughout the whole. I mean, you have to, obviously,
right?
But was at any time was he fully immersed, or is one of the precautions like, oh, you can never have somebody who doesn't have necessarily swim training or under a certain age fully immersed, in terms of like. And for production standards,
he was able to be in there. I mean, we knew he was a good swimmer. It was a conversation, we had talked about. And so he's never actually alone in there. Like there's always people that are right around the pool. So they're like, you saw how many people are stationed around there. So everyone's around there. I believe at that time we had someone in the water too, hidden below, right? I think there was
somebody in the pool.
Underneath the water too. So like we made sure that he had a ton of really good swimmers around him at all times. Yeah. And some movie magic, but there's always a lot of people there. Just anytime we're around water in general, you just want to take precautions.
Okay. Gotcha. And can I tell you, sorry, go ahead.
Jaelyn. Yeah, we shot Jaelyn too. It was the same thing. So we had her in the water. So that was the beginning of the movie where she's drowning. We shot that also in that same pool. In the actual pool that she drowned in the movie.
So even at the scene where Jenna jumps in the water thinking she saw Nico push Jaelyn, were there even safety precautions then, or because it was like, I don't know, barely knee high, she didn't. I feel like there's some even minute precautions.
She wasn't in the water at all.
Did she jump in the water?
Because she did look like she get very wet, and she didn't get.
She did get wet, but she did not jump in the water.
If you watch our behind the scenes, Dean did a video of Jenna getting hosed down. and he's spraying, she's getting sprayed and she's dancing around and stuff, just because it's a whole thing to put people in the water, and it didn't seem like it was necessary, because it's like, you have complications like possible alligators,
not in the pool, in the lake, not the pool.
In the lake.
Okay.
In the lake. No. Oh, we found a crazy snake in the lake one time. What was that, Mark? That was a copperhead. There was a copperhead in that pool, and so we had to pull it out and kill a copperhead snake in the pool.
Oh, in the pool.
In the pool, and we had to take it out, and it was like we just had to chop it. It was like, this wasn't while we were filming. This was a different day. It was really.
But I still think if you send this link to Nico, I might have to cut this down because I don't want to scare him about going in. I'm just kidding.
We also had a snake wrangler when we were out at the plantation. So anything with the cemetery scenes at the plantation,
really?
we have to have that just with nature. Like, you don't know what's going to be out there, if there's weird bugs. So we have a set medic who's there, who could just handle like if something did occur, or even just for like bug bites. He has like bug bite spray, those kind of things. Sunscreen, just general making things better for people. But then he also had, they're ready for if something like that did happen. We literally had a person there just snake wrangling out there. We're in the woods.
And that was a real cemetery. That wasn't some like mock-up, right?
That was not a real cemetery.
That was not a real cemetery.
No.
Okay.
So for us, like, we talked about that when we were location scouting. And it just, even if we could get permission to shoot in one, it just seems a little disrespectful to go in and be traipsing around in a real cemetery, just so we kept that as those are not real gravestones. Those are all fake.
Well, it looked like, there's actually a church by my house that has a small cemetery that looks exactly like that. I thought maybe just like you went to the mausoleum and decide to chisel some new names on there or add a new plaque just for the sake of anyway. I'm just kidding.
That mausoleum is like it's like board and wood. So the guy who built it, we got stopped right before COVID. We were about to shoot and then COVID shut us down. So that mausoleum was in their yard for like 6-7 months. And people, like their neighbors, were looking at it. You know what? I'll send you a picture of that later to post too. And it's like the stuff I do for, Fort Argyle films or something. And it was just there for months. And they're like, please just shoot so we can get this thing out of our yard. Please just shoot. So that was there. He built it. That was there for a very long time.
Here's Mark. Mark's back. Hold on. That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
I was just telling him about the mausoleum and how that was in, was it Tom Nelson's yard for like 7 months, and they're like, please get this out of our yard, but we had to wait because of COVID to get started again.
Well, being Jewish, I could say that was a lot of mazel. That was a stretch. Okay, that was bad. No, but can I tell you something? Even before the film got released, the film, the cast, the crew got nominated for so many awards, and to the point that like and Mark, this was your first time directing, right? You've been in a lot
directing a feature, yes.
Feature, right? But you've had a lot of acting roles, but this was your first feature, and the response was, to say it was tremendous, I guess is the proper word, because not necessarily the awards, but not just the awards, but the nominations were all over the place.
Yeah, we were very fortunate.
Yeah.
I started my career by acting in a lot of really bad movies. And so I learned how to direct by not doing what I saw get done a lot. And I'm sure Dean can attest to that. Like because as an actor on set, you're like, what in the hell are they doing? Right. And it's like, you go, well, I won't ever do that if I'm a director. And so, but a very smart director told me years ago that, 80% of directing a movie is casting the right actors. And we cast the right actors. The rest of it, the actors were the easy part, just kind of pointing the direction, said go. All the other stuff was, could be difficult, but yeah, it was those actors coming together, and then Alexis, of course, kicking ass as producer. I mean, we just had an amazing team to support the project, support me. So yeah, it all came together. I think it was perfect timing and just a perfect group of folks working together to make something in a time period when it was hard, you know? So yeah, I feel very blessed how we were received at a lot of festivals.
You know, it's interesting. I never heard of learning skills through process of elimination, but that is definitely that is very revolutionary. I love that. That's really good.
Mhm.
No, but I totally hear that. I mean, when you're on a set, you're always learning, whether it be you're in the performance or the theatrical arts or performance position, or you're in the technical field.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And I
what's
think
really
as
cool.
actors too, because with crews on set, they're just working their ass off the whole time, right? Like they're busy. But as actors, when you're on set actually performing, you're busy. But the rest of the time, you're just sitting around watching what the producers and the crew and the directors are doing. So we have a lot of time to kind of judge, you know what I mean? And like pay attention and learn and see. And for me, it's like, it was really about, because I'd been an actor in so many things, and I've seen the amazing side of acting where things ran smoothly, where the schedule was great, the director was communicative, you know what they wanted, and then I've seen the other side of that. And so, for me as a director, was striving to make sure that our actors knew what I needed and was looking for, and that they felt wanted and a part of the team, and that we didn't waste their time needlessly, and also the same with the crew, make sure that they understood. Like I tried to, like every day I wanted to make the crew understand, I very much appreciate you being here. All right. Because, as a baby movie, we can't throw the money around that big budget films can do. But I can tell you, everybody working on that film, from the craft services PA through our actors, through post-production, they worked on our movie as if it was a big budget film, which I think goes a long way to why it looks as good as it does, because everybody just poured their heart and soul into it.
Did any of you as crew and cast reach any production restrictions, I guess would be the right word, or limitations during during production or post-production?
Yes. Of course.
It was not a limit.
A lot of limits.
Dean, did you find any limits?
Yeah, they cast me instead of the name they wanted.
Here's the thing: like the movie was budgeted and scheduled pre-COVID.
The poor man.
And then after COVID hit, I had to do a rewrite on the script and.
Mark,
you froze out. While he froze,
I know what he was gonna say, but go ahead, Dean.
While he froze, I'm gonna take the mic from him. One of the things he didn't. He says he casted really well, and that's what made the big difference. And I'm not gonna lie, we had some really great actors. We all had a lot of fun. But there's two ways, and Mark comes from the world. He knows what it's like to coach actors and direct actors, and there's two different things you're dealing with. When you're directing someone, you're usually trying to get a fast thing, so you're trying to physically get something you want to see. When you're coaching someone, you're supportively giving these little nudges and things to let them kind of find it. And while we may have been trying to shoot quicker because we were doing a lot of stuff, I never felt like Mark ever told me, do this. He would do what the supportive coach would do, which was give you these little things that would kind of nudge you in a certain way or support something that he liked so that you would find that yourself. And that to me makes a huge difference in a director, because either director is wrapping you with rope and saying, do it exactly like I have it set, or they're going, I gave you this character in this script. Here's a few things. Let's play and see what you brought to the table. And I would say he towered over directors in that realm, because not all directors give you that freedom with specific nudges to still get what they want. So he can give the whole he cast well, but he also directed really well as well.
That's a skill, but it's also a gift.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to know, because I know a lot of horror actors and actors who've acted in horror have done a lot of graphic films, which also a lot of these actors also happen to be, ironically, if not into horror, squeamish. Are any of you squeamish in terms of as an audience member? Not necessarily, because I know as an audience member versus a somebody on set, the reaction can be very different, and I'm sure you all know that. I was at a premiere for a movie called Raise, and one of the actresses, the one who invited me, I saw her cringing at the scenes she was beating another woman up in, but she didn't flinch in the movie. I mean, obviously it was, different angles, but she was covering her eyes and like going like this when she's literally beating the crap out of another woman. So it's just very interesting.
I think it would go back to perspective and objective, right? So like for when you're in that moment of doing, she was beating her for a different reason than watching herself beat someone, because that's obviously weird.
It's like third person versus first person, yeah, in a sense. So also I just want to bring up, so we're talking about the awards. I'm just going to go through a bunch of them, but I don't want to brag too much on your behalf. But no, I just want to, some of them are going to be, this was actually, I think this was from some of the interviews you guys did. I thought this was one of the, but I love that. I wanted to bring up, I have a few shots of you, Alexis, BTS shots. That was one of them. But here, this was when you got the Best Actor nomination. This is when Nico, I'm sorry, I didn't have this ready when we had him on. This is where he got the Best Supporting Actor nomination. This was for Aurelio Vera. He was at the LA premiere for the Best Visual Effects? Wasn't he at the LA premiere?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was.
And then there was Tommy, Best Supporting Actress, and then Dean, Best Actor in Thrills and Chills Film Awards. Then there's, I'm sorry, she couldn't join us, Brittany Level. She got the nomination for Best Actress. And I could go on and on, and you all got so many nominations and awards. It's just really, I'm really happy for the whole team, and that, this being Mark's first this feature directorial debut, must be really rewarding. And now, not only that, I saw Nico was in that new movie Spirited with Will Ferrell and as a young Ryan Reynolds. And Jaelyn, what did I caught that she was in? I'm forgetting. She was just in another project that I recall. She was in a number of things, but it's great to see them get that exposure. You know what I mean? And now Tommy too. And now she just announced she did a commercial that's going to be shown during the Super Bowl.
Yeah, watch for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
proud of the awards because we were winning, we won some best film awards that were not in the horror genre. It was just overall best film. So for us, we don't just consider this to be a horror movie. There's a lot more to it. It's a psychological thriller. There's so many layers to it. There's relationships. There's, what the family is going through, what the mother is going through. So
trauma.
For people to recognize that, that was very that for us, we said, okay, yes, we did it. That's what we wanted to accomplish.
There's a lot of horror franchises. A lot of horror films, or a lot of films in general, are not given the recognition of the other genres they fall under enough, especially in a world where a lot of these big award shows and a lot of people and critics don't give horror the recognition it deserves. So the other subgenres within horror films aren't not even magnified. They're not seen for what they are, which is a real shame. It really is. But I'm love that there are always people that embrace that. I actually I don't know, I feel like there's more of a pre-production question. That creepy doll that resembles Jaelyn, or supposed to, what's the word that Jaelyn Alice manifests in? Did you have other concepts? Was that an actual just another porcelain doll, or did you have that created for the film? And did you have other prototypes, I guess, or did you just use an old?
It was created for the film, because if you think about it, with dolls, you have little babies, right? Generally speaking, or you have Barbie style dolls, but there are no dolls that look like a life-size 8-year-old girl. And so we actually did is we went to someone who does something called life dolls, and it's generally for if a mother,
those unborn ones, the unborn babies.
Yeah. Well, it's like if a mother loses her child, they might get one of these dolls to help them make a transition to overcome that loss. So that's what we went to, but it was based on a doll that my great grandmother had. That was an old fashioned porcelain doll that just, I remember being at her house when I was a kid and it just terrified me. That's what it's based on. But yeah, we wanted something that looked like, it didn't need to look exactly like Jaelyn because it's obviously not Jaelyn, but we wanted it to be similar. And so yeah, we spent a lot of time on the doll trying to figure out what the look would be and how to make it creepy without going over the top. So it was a lot of focus on that.
Yeah. And no, did you ever, I'm assuming, like, did you have it ready for production, or did you have like a mock-up for any of the I don't know, takes or
we had 3 made actually. So
okay.
We had our master doll, which was kind of the main one that we use for everything. We had a backup in case something happened to that master doll, because then we're, just, straight out of, we had to have that. And then we also had one that we were able to burn. So
right.
in the scenes where you need the burned version, we had our burned doll because we needed to have all 3 of them, just in case. And then so we had multiple dresses for it. The wig, we had to find that wig. I remember going around shopping with Jaelyn. We went to all these different hair stores. Not much different than postmodern photos.
I think it's something about the dolls. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's really a creepy thing. It's called Reborn, right? I think they're called Reborn dolls.
Okay.
But they feel like they look very, very real. And so this woman who designed them, like, she comes from that, does these very detailed, real looking real dolls. But yeah, we went shopping and we were, going around looking for wigs that matched Jaelyn's hair. We went to a bunch of different stores and finally found a place. Reborn. Yeah, it's Reborn.
Yeah, Wendy confirmed it,
Yeah, Reborn dolls.
So so basically the same one she lit on fire was the same burnt one that was used throughout the remainder of the film.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No. The one we set on fire. Yeah, I mean, the 3 dolls, we had the clean one because we shot out of order, obviously.
Right,
so,
right, of course.
You know what I mean? So, like, we needed a clean doll. We needed a doll that was backup. We needed one that was burned strategically. But the one we burned in the trash, we actually didn't burn the head of the doll. If you notice, when the doll's burning in the trash can, you see this hair. You don't see its face. So what we actually did is we created a doll that actually we physically burned in the trash can.
Okay, so there were 4 in total, I guess.
Well, the one that was in the trash can wasn't really the doll.
Okay.
It was a mock-up that we burned. Yeah, it was similar.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the dress, though, it was one of the dresses.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Jaelyn wore that dress. I think they were the same size, weren't they? I think they were, because like, we thought that the dress would need to be smaller for the doll, but Jaelyn is very petite. Right. So I think she did fit in that.
Did she get to take one of the dresses home, or because I feel like that's like what was like, it is a keepsake in a sense, but at the same time,
I still have them all hanging in my closet.
Next time she sees you at a premiere, she should wear that instead of a white shirt.
You are spot on. Please say that none of these dolls have to live at your house now.
They're at my house now.
Yeah, even Kalani Ghost Hunter came to the house and he found one of them, but it didn't have the wig on. He did a live stream event. It was for a few days and he stayed there at the house, live streamed. It was intense. Like, we had like 30 million views on it. Like, people were really just watching for things, and he found a lot. But he found the baby doll in a storage room and he brought her out, and
So I have kind of an awkward question for Dean. I feel like it'd be even more awkward if I had Tommy here. I should have said that when he was drinking. So that scene, I think you're on mute, Dean.
What scene?
That scene where between you and Tommy. First of all, I have to ask a different question first. Did they only have female crew members outside of Dean being there? I assume that he was like probably the only male when they shot that.
We had closed set, so what we did generally, that's standard. We had as few crew members as possible, and we limited the male crew members. I mean, I think I may have been the only male on the set besides Dean.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
we
call the DP.
Yeah, the DP, yeah. But you want in those situations, you obviously want to make your actress feel absolutely comfortable.
Yeah.
Tommy's mom was there, literally 20 feet off camera. We just want
We
to do
also
everything.
had an intimacy coordinator. So there's a whole crew position called intimacy coordinator. So we have one of those as well. They're just kind of making sure everything is good and everyone feels safe and comfortable. Yeah, and then on top of that, even the sound mixer, because that he's a male, but his boom op came out and it's a female, and so she came in and replaced for those scenes as well.
Yeah. But it's not just for the sake of comfortability; it's for the sake of respect towards her, and so she performs, does her acting, she does it without any distractions where she feels uncomfortable, obviously.
I mean, here's the deal. Tom is an absolute professional. You know what I mean? But out of respect and just we always, anytime we're doing anything, I mean, Alexis and I have done tons of shorts and all kinds of projects. We've always made sure that, we're trying to make sure our actors and actresses feel comfortable. But certainly if there's any scene that there's, that's awkward or has, any kind of sexual undertones or nudity, we do everything possible to make sure they walk away that day feeling like they were cared for, they're protected, and and we told Tommy, if anything happens that you feel the least bit uncomfortable, say something, we'll shut it down immediately. You know what I mean, and make sure she's okay. So yeah, it was a safe environment for those actors to do their job in.
It's important. No, that's good to hear.
Actually we shot? It was really smooth. I mean, we knocked it out really quick. Like there wasn't, obviously when we're doing something like that, there's no lollygagging. We're not taking our time to figure things out. But yeah, towel every time we cut or anything like that. Yeah,
of course. Yeah. Did Tommy's mom either coach you or not coach? What was it? The word give you any before or after speeches or scold you?
No, we weren't gonna date.
I know. I'm joking. I know. I'm joking.
Well, we did actually when Tommy had her call back. We explained to Tommy the reason for the scene, and I explained to her every single shot we were going to do, how long the shot was going to last, what the angles were. I described it in writing beforehand and sent it to her, that kind of thing. You just want to make sure there are no surprises. You don't want to spring something on someone at the last minute. So she was aware at the callback, and not only aware what was going to be required, but also the reason for it, like why Lilith was doing this, right? Because I think Alexis and I both felt that it was important that she understands it wasn't just there to be gratuitous. It was there for
it had
very
purpose
reason. Yeah.
Well, also, if you look at Dean's character, also he's very he's caught off guard. He's very standoffish. He refused to even touch her barely. So that probably also helps. It's not like, oh, they're making out. She just kisses him and he backs off. You barely even. So that for the sake of, it's almost like because of his character's. Well, the character, and that character's tone or mood or reaction to what was going on, it really creates a very swift and just naturally not too intimate. Outside of the dialogue almost feels some of the most intimate in terms of the tone of the voice out of just about anything outside of the risque, the nudity. But it was brief.
Something about that is originally we wrote it that Eric was okay with it, and we were like, well, what if he went for it? What if he let her? They kissed. We had this version. We were like, well, what if they kissed? And we talked about it. And we're like, that's not what he would do. This man is trying to hold the family together with everything he has. He wouldn't do it. It's not his character. And how do you feel about that, Dean? I mean, I don't know if we ever told you that.
No, but I backed you guys completely on that. I think that I agree completely. I don't think this character, one, obviously the stuff he's already gone through with the wife, and now he's moved his whole family from across the country. There's so much going on emotionally with the wife that I think it was just there was no possible version of that I would have saw him going any further than just one being freaked out because it's a completely new place. Like everything was so already off key for him that I couldn't see a movement even made.
Also, Dean, you basically displayed the ideal husband, like in that.
Displayed.
What?
What do you
No,
mean
no. Well,
displayed?
okay. I'm not kissing up here or hitting on you, so please don't get the wrong idea. No, what I'm saying is like, you know, they also Mark and Alexis told me your dad, which obviously, you know, you were father. You know, it was good. You played a dad, and you to these kids, but you're also a dad. But also your performance as the, you know, as the husband, the wholesome husband, like you're just caught off guard. It's almost like the kiss was almost like you didn't know how to react because you're so caught off guard that it wasn't even she kissed you, you didn't like, and you just didn't know how to like what is going on right now. It's almost like, so it's like she was playing you, but at the same time, you everything you do in that movie is for your wife and your kids.
Yeah.
And that's not even it wasn't even a mistake. She moved on you. You didn't respond. You didn't move on her.
He was still trying to figure out what she was doing in the pool and where the hell she came from. Much less.
Right, exactly. Like you jumped in, came out, and she was just there. It's almost like she was a ghost. You know, yeah. No, but like it's good. Like you see a lot of these movies where the husband, you know, fools around, or the wife, or like there's a lot of controversy, but you really see the audience sees your devotion to your wife's character. Even when Tommy appears, you're like, what is going on? It's almost like you feel like you're like, is this happening right now? Am I hallucinating? So you know, but also I wanted to ask, they never really truly explained. You guys never really truly explained regarding Jenna's character's path, because we thought it was something else. So, but I know obviously, Alexis, you said you don't want to tie everything up with the bow, but Jenna's character's backstory of her trauma, that was never truly explained in the end, was it?
No. And we did that on purpose. But what we wanted to do is on the first watch, obviously there's the big rug pull, right? When we realized Alice wasn't her daughter and all this, you know, was kind of in her head. But there's lots of hints throughout the movie that Rachel has dealt with mental issues in the past and had some pretty tough issues with dealing with. I think April on a couple occasions, you know, says, I don't want to go through what we went through before. Mom's acting weird again, you know, so they've dealt with her having some pretty serious problems before. Again, audiences can take from what they want. My feeling was always one of the reasons they left home to move to Savannah was to help her, that she had something happen in her life, wasn't losing Alice, but some kind of traumatic event that they were trying to get her away from and have a new start in Savannah to kind of give her a second chance.
Yeah.
But it wasn't important to the story. Like we didn't need to know, you know, and for us, it's fun for folks to be able to go back and watch the movie again and then see all those little hints we dropped in about Mom, you know, having problems before.
Yeah, but it's also, I think it's not necessarily a trope. It's of the mother, or not the mother, the one who's more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
In the family being prone to influence.
Well, if you notice, the movie starts with her having a dream about Alice dying, right?
On the way to the house, yeah.
The mom has not even reached the house yet. She's in the driveway to the house. But a couple of hints about that, you know, I don't even know if anyone caught up on this, but in that shot, Alice drowns in the dark. But when Mom tells her story to the psychiatrist, Alice drowns in the morning when the family's at the zoo, right? And so the idea is like make that a little like, why doesn't those story, like why is her nightmare different? You know, it could just be a nightmare, but my feeling was, you know, she did have this vulnerability that the evil forces in the house were able to immediately recognize and tap into as soon as she got onto the property, right? And so it immediately realized she's the one we'll start with, and it went after her in that way.
Yeah. And basically then it went after Nico, and then Tommy went after.
Well, it went after all of them
in
a way that they would be most likely to be vulnerable. So,
right.
You know, April is lonely. She feels out of place. She's homesick. So the entity approaches her in a way to like befriend her and then seduce her. Now, most people would think you have this dad who's dealing with a wife who's in some ways being a little harsh towards him. You know, she's going through a lot. She's kind of taken out on him. He's under a ton of stress. So then entity looks at Eric and says, oh, this is how we'll get to him. We'll seduce him. It didn't work, right? Which I think for me is one of the reasons that Eric goes through such an intense ending, is because it was to make him basically saying, we got you, right?
And Harriet was the first one to be seduced by Tommy, is what I was going to say. And when that, almost like that fell through, for like the ghost decided, let me step it up a notch and go for Tommy's character, Lilith. Let's go for the dad. I'm going to go for the dad.
Well, you keep saying ghosts, and I'll just say this. There are
I meant
no
Tommy.
ghosts.
Sorry. I meant Tom. Yeah.
No, well, there are no ghosts in a Savannah, right?
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
No ghosts. But what Lilith does, she succeeds with April, right? She wasn't trying to seduce her to like sleep with her. She's trying to seduce her to break her. And so that shot in the cemetery where, you know, she slams April against the wall and then April runs off, she's calling for her. And then when she realizes she's got it, she gives that little smile, right? And we never see the two of them interact again, because she knew at that point she pulls back her affection.
Mark, cut out again.
He was about to tell you that the alternate scene was Mark climbing into the pool shirtless with me, but that didn't work either.
We tried it. We shot it. It didn't feel right in the cup.
Well, at least it wasn't Mark and Tommy climbing into the pool with you. That would have been even weirder. Anyway, oh, here he is. Yeah,
I've been having a lot of like supernatural stuff lately, and it's weird. Like we just did this call a couple weeks ago, and there's no problem, and I'm getting kicked out of this thing constantly. It's very strange.
I know.
Yeah, Dean was just telling us about how you also tried to seduce him shirtless in the pool, but it didn't work.
Yeah,
the alternate scene is going
didn't work on camera.
Right.
Didn't work.
Anyway, you were finish what you were saying, Mark.
I was just saying, like Lilith got what she wanted from April. She broke her, and then it was like, okay, now the next thing is to go after Eric. So the entity went after each of them in a way that it felt would be the most successful, right? Mm-hmm. But again, I think for me, you know, the reason that Eric goes through this extraordinary experience at the end that's pretty intense, and really he's the only character we see go through this really intense climactic experience. It was almost like the entity was pissed off that he rebuffed it, right? And so it was like, now we're going to send him to like really to the depths of hell before we destroy him.
Gabe, like, not to interrupt real quick, but Mark, when you said that it's not a ghost, would you mind expanding on that? Because I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. So we don't go into the mythology of what's going on here, but in the movie we hint at it. Again, lots of hints. But the idea is this: like, there's an entity obviously underneath the house in this breach in the basement, but it's just one singular entity. And the idea is, when someone dies on the property, the entity can take the form of that person, but a darkened version of them, right? So we know from the story, from what the grandmom tells us, that, you know, in 1864, you had the William character and Lilith were family. The William character was torturing his slaves in the basement. The slaves revolted. They put the family in the basement. They burned the house down. So what comes back, and then Alice drowned in the pool, you know, like 10 years before the current movie. So that's not a ghost of Alice. I mean, she's just a sweet little girl who happened to drown. It's this demonic force that's taken on the form of Alice just as a tool to get to the new family.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I actually have to work on my ectoplasmical correctness.
A lot of people refer to them as ghosts because we don't make it clear, right? There's little hints.
I'm glad you did.
At the very end, where we see the last shot of mom when she's in the house and she's looking in the mirror, and she's seated and Alice is next to her. And we do the camera reveal. It's now Lilith next to her, and that was just to be a little hint that they're the same thing, right? They're not two different entities.
Was that revealed in the scene that?
The
Oh, it
deleted
was the deleted scene. Interesting. You know what it makes me think of? It's a similar thing I've seen in other horror films, but I love that it was left. It was not clear in this because that because what was it? Was it Phantoms? But with the one with Ben Affleck and there's a number of horror films like that where it's one entity. It's not like it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but as opposed to a parasite, it's one. Not a parasite or a being. It's just like a supernatural being. You know, taking the
Just
form.
taking your forms.
Yeah. But that makes that now I have to, I just rewatched it recently. I want to rewatch it. Like every time you get more things in context about the story, it makes you want to. Oh, I gotta watch it again. You know what I mean? So no, that's great. I love that.
Yeah, for me, like if we ever get the good fortune to make a sequel, you know, Dean died in the house. I'd love to see him as some kind of darkened version, especially the super sweet good guy dad. Have him come back as some darkened version of that character. That would be really fun for me.
Yeah, you or Tommy better not get in the pool now.
Yeah, but Dean, you were the role model dad. William was the slave torturing dad. You know that's
right.
But I had a question about
we were the opposite side of our coin.
Winkler, what's his first name? I forget.
Bill.
But
Bill.
Is he related to Henry? Because I've seen him before.
I don't think so.
Bill's in a ton of stuff. He's in so much stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen him. Yeah, I've seen him a lot.
I was working on a TV show a couple months ago, and Bill walks into the makeup room, and I was like, "Oh my God, Bill!" But we actually have the same. And it's interesting. We have the same agent, but I didn't even know that when I saw his audition, and we're like, "He's the guy," and then I'm negotiating. It's like, "Oh shit, that's my agent." We're now negotiating with. So it's kind of funny. But Bill,
I did a guest star with Bill on Drop Dead Devo years ago.
I remember that.
Amazing voice.
An award on that. There was an award from that one, right, Dean? Yeah, I remember that.
GLAAD award.
What was that?
We got a GLAAD award for the episode that we did with him.
Wow.
You know, it makes me think like because he's like you guess in this sense, it makes him seem like the white Sam Jackson. Because in terms of like Chris Rock, they were interviewing Chris Rock about Spiral, the Ninth Saw, and they say like, "Yeah, you've done all these movies, and Sam does all these movies, and you've never done a movie together." And Chris, yeah, because it's like he's in like every other movie. And then when I went to see the Ninth Saw in theaters, there are 2 or 3 trailers for other Sam Jackson movies while I'm watching a movie starring Sam Jackson. So it's like you guys are talking about, oh yeah, we bumped into Bill here. We co-star with Bill again, like. It's almost like he is your Sam Jackson in that sense.
If Bill could drop as many MFs, that'd be great.
Oh yeah.
I guess he seemed like too much of a professional, a doctor that you don't want your doctor dropping that in the
unless it was Sam Jackson, right?
Maybe in the sequel.
Well, can I ask a question? If I would love to see the McCullough cut. I know he's brought this up before. I'm hoping for a McCullough cut. However, if we don't get that, any details that were not provided in the theatrical cut, I would love to see. Any of the ones that you want to reveal or that are significant enough or can add to his story, I would love to see play out and be revealed in a sequel. And I'm just
Well, we had, Alexis and I talked about this a lot. Like from the very beginning, we had a whole big story to tell, right? And Savannah Haunting is one part of that story, but there's a lot of really interesting things that we would love to explore at some point. Other aspects of the characters, kind of like it'd be really fun to like see how the haunting got started, like what caused this breach in the walls to hell, so to speak.
Well, you could do a prequel sequel crossover. You could do a prequel and sequel in one film.
Well, you could, yeah. You could also, we'd love to know what happens to House afterwards. What happens to Jenna's character? Here's the other thing: we actually, we see Eric get dragged into the closet. We have no idea what happens to April and Andrew. Like we don't see what happens to them in the least. So there's a lot of questions.
Wouldn't it be nice to know? Like, wouldn't we want to know what happened to them?
Everybody wants to know if Dean comes out the closet. Everybody wants to know.
That's right. I think that was that where Mark you were going, or did
No, that's where I giggled right there.
We discussed this before. Dean's the funny one. I'm not the funny one.
Well, Dean, if you come back for the sequel, is it who's coming out of the closet, or is the entity who's coming out of the closet as you? That's the question.
The entity, of course.
Of course. No, I actually was gonna ask. I love when a movie like a movie like Savannah Haunting, which is more contained, goes to a sequel and then expands the world, not just story arc wise or story wise, but location wise. Like I could, something like those, like obviously Mark, you're not. I mean, the plantation. I'm sure the land expand like. The land is very broad, I guess.
Right. Big property.
So, big property, but you could basically show that the entity isn't restricted to the property or something like like.
I tell you, I was pitching a story idea to Alexis the other day. I'm not going to pitch it on here.
Of course not. Yeah, no, I wouldn't ask you to.
About a really fun sequel idea at some point where the entity finds a way to reach other people's houses.
I love that. I like that.
But the plantation itself, I mean, that's where we shot at Myrtle Grove. That's what it's called. It's in Richmond Hill. It's nearby. And I mean, that location, that would explain a lot about what happens in the movie you just saw.
Like if we were to theoretically do a prequel and set it in 1864 and kind of cover how it got, what happened, what led to the slave revolt, what caused the supernatural demonic force to get set free, that might be fun. And then do that movie in that beautiful plantation house. That might be a fun idea.
Yeah, because it's going to be pretty tricky having to rebuild that mausoleum and graveyard in there on those people's property again. And well, I mean, but the thing is, if you do it, is show that in a earlier time period, you could basically, it doesn't have to look the same. It could be in a completely different location because I don't know, 150 year, give or take, difference. You could basically rebuild the same thing somewhere else, and it doesn't have to look like it's the same area.
Well, it couldn't be the same anyway because we had well, first of all, the mausoleum, the family is in that mausoleum after they're dead, so it probably wouldn't be there before they're dead. But the cemetery, I mean, the plantation looks the same. You know what I mean? Like it's there. But yeah, it would just, the technical stuff, that's always, there's always, obstacles that have to be figured out and overcome. For us, though, the key at this stage is always story, right? Story is always where you begin. And Lex and I have been bouncing ideas around for a long time. And we have some fun ideas that we would like to explore with some other projects, maybe.
Do you still have the harpsichord in the plantation for recreating that ballroom scene or ballroom?
Yeah, that's there. That was actually part of the location. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, I got another. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, that's part of the location. Thank you, Michael Alexander. Great conversation, you guys. Good night. Yeah, the location is amazing. So obviously, if we were telling a story about the origin of this, we would probably use it again. We definitely want to explore what happened and how we can't say too much here tonight. Obviously, you can see that there's wheels turning and spinning and scripts writing and
breaking wheels. I guess that goes to the slave time. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm sorry, that's pretty bad. No, I was gonna say was Mark, do you live far from the plantation, or you live or I know it's a different location, but do you live
pretty close?
Pretty clove. Okay. So
what's interesting is, as an actor, I've
like
worked
20 minutes, maybe 20 minutes ish. It's close.
Yeah, I've filmed in that plantation multiple times, and it's just kind of strange. Like I filmed the plantation, so when we're getting ready to film, it was my dream location. I didn't think we were able to get it, and we got very fortunate that we were able to get it. But it's a beautiful, like Glory shot there. The movie with Denzel Washington and Underground Railroad.
Cary Elwes, yeah, I know Cary Elwes. I love that movie.
Yeah, tons of amazing projects shoot there. It's beautiful, and the guy who owns it with his family, Buck Meeks, is a sweetheart. he probably wouldn't want me to say that, but he's a tough dude who is really sweet.
He's
But
wonderful. And it's a really great location. I mean, a lot of things have been filming there, and like they've kept parts of the property. Like there's slave cabins there. There's things that have been built from different shows and movies, and they've been able to leave them. So instead of just tearing down these sets, they're still there. So for filmmakers like us, or not like us, because we would never go back and do a prequel there, but if it was something like that, a lot of this stuff is already still set up. And so it really makes it easy to tell these stories in that location.
Yeah, like The Birth of a Nation that Nate Parker directed. They built, I worked on that, and they built a bunch of slave cabins there that they kept up there. And then Underground Railroad shot there, and they created some other slaves. So it's a phenomenal location for telling a story in that time period,
it's like there's a period piece, and then there's a period location, I guess. It's interesting. I do want to say though, a lot of I don't know if they had V-neck white shirts back in that era, so for the sake of all the female fans of the first film, you might have to go shirtless. I'm just saying for them.
I get
otherwise you're not going to get whistles in the next premiere you go to. I'm just saying.
Going to assume that
not for me. I mean,
the young ladies who were whistling at
the LA premiere.
This shirtless scene in the pool. I don't think I was getting a whole lot of positive attention with the character I was playing.
Dean's not going to want you to release that.
No, I wasn't even on screen when they were hollering for Mark. Don't let him pull that.
No. I thought he was talking about. I thought talking about the scene you shot with him in the pool.
Gabe was there. Gabe was at the premiere in LA. So
Oh yeah. No, I meant the premiere in Savannah.
Mark said he wasn't getting the whistles either.
For you. Nobody whistled for you.
Like I said, they knew you were there. They knew you guys were there, and they didn't want to, have to force themselves into a blush. Throw themselves under the bus, as I said. But that's No, but I'm not joking. I'm like, I was cracking up. I'm like, who did that?
Did they send you a picture of the whole crew with Mark? I mean, the whole cast with Mark and our white shirts?
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, Alexis, you never sent me those photos.
I know. Send you that. I could do it right now.
We have. Listen, it's almost 11, but I could stand for a few extra minutes. Just send them my way, and I will. I'll bring them on. We can stay because I feel like. Yeah, that was.
Let me see. It's online.
Everybody was calling him out for that, and I'm like, honestly, I wear a white V-neck like.
Any audiences of the show who are female, I thought they might want to. I was saying any audiences members of this show who are female who haven't seen the film yet, I want to try to get coax them. I'm not supposed to get them to watch the movie, even if they're not horror fans. It's like so certain girls will watch certain films that I know, or even guys, if it's a certain actress or actor that stars in it, even if they can't stand those type of movie, it's too scary for them. Some people will watch for the sake of the actor, regardless of the movie it is.
Keep talking. I'm looking for the picture.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So message to me on Facebook because otherwise I'm gonna be a little all over the place. Okay. So in the meantime, let's. What was it? Oh, so there's this. I wanted to bring up this scene. Where was it? I have it here with. Oh, here. This shot. So when you came home, so the kids were already missing. You were looking for the kids, Dean, and this was this the? I actually want to ask you, was this the same room where Tommy seduced and Harriet earlier on in the film? That room looks like.
I think so. With the mattress.
The mattress, yeah.
I think it was.
Oh, Mark, I think we have two of you. That was.
God.
Oh God! I had to do that. I'm like, wow. Was that one of the ghosts trying to bring in another? Was that the entity bringing in the other Mark? That was crazy.
Don't ask for things.
No. I was gonna say that would have been cool if I had Mark in one shot and another Mark. It's almost like that scene where Jenna looks in the mirror and she turns around, and it's like that would have been like catching that on a live stream. That would be creepy. I'm definitely going to save that as a screenshot in case anybody questions that your house is haunted.
That's probably why I put that gray sheet up. Everything mess with us throughout this.
It's probably some creepy painting hung behind you, maybe, or
Well, the last time I did a video podcast, they kept seeing stuff behind me, which is very distracting. So just not going to deal with it.
Well, yeah, actually, it's fun. I went to the Grudge premiere, and for not premiere, sorry, I went to opening night movie, the spin-off of the Grudge that came out in January of 2020, and I knew one of the cast members prior, Lynn Shay, but I saw her in San Raimi at Comic-Con. One of the actresses who was in a Comic-Con, after the movie ended, I looked over my shoulder, and one of the women who played one of the initial ghost, or one of the main ghosts in the film, was sitting behind me with her family. And I realized, and I had to say, oh, she's sitting right behind me. It's like one of those things. Oh shit, she's right behind. No, but she was really sweet, and like she didn't want to stand when the whole place was crowded. She was going around catching the showing throughout New York City. You know, audiences taking photos. But it was crazy. Like oh yeah, she was right behind me. It's like one of those like subtle. Yeah, the ghost was right behind me. I mean, no, but Tara's great. She actually just I don't know if you worked with any of you have worked with him. She just did a short film she produced with John Leguizamo, who actually met Comic-Con this year. Did you guys? I know, Mark, you've been in The Walking Dead. You recently did, what was it? Quantum Leap, right?
Yeah.
And Dean, what was? Hold on, I'm trying to remember. I wrote some of a number of the projects you were in. Just give me 1 second, and I had some questions for you. Hold on a second.
The Hunt. He's in a lot of stuff.
Oh, The Hunt. Yeah, well, we spoke about this because I told you I know Steve Coulter for a while. Did you have any scenes with Steve?
Oh yeah, Steve and I were throughout the film. We just constantly ragged on each other for fun and games.
I don't remember. I hope I invited him to this. If not, I'll send it to him afterwards. Yeah, he was just in that show on that movie on Amazon as I think it was Jennifer Lopez's father-in-law.
Oh yeah, he's constantly working.
He's all Marvel's Cloak and Dagger. I think I had somebody else on. The Highwaymen I really want to watch. I'm a really big fan of both those guys. I just have to get around to it because I just, certain films, like I need to be in the mood, but it also seems like it's depressing as much as it is historical. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. There's some films you can only really, even if you're like, you walk away from the film, you're like, that was so good. I can never watch that again, but it was so good. There was one that got a lot of awards. It was like the kid comes home and like he comes back to like his hometown, but when he left, the house got burned on fire, and like his wife and his kids.
It's ringing a bell. Was it a horror or a drama?
No, it was a drama. And it got tons of awards. Casey Affleck, I think, was the lead in it.
I know what film you're talking about. I don't know the name offhand, but I know exactly what you mean when they're like
something like he comes home, everything's miserable.
Was that Gone Baby Gone? Baby Gone?
More miserable. No. Then eventually the movie ends. But there's really good acting in between that.
Yeah. It's funny because Hereditary was one of those horror films I thought was an absolute masterpiece, but I refused to watch again. More for the realistic horror element, meaning like the depressing death, loss of a child element, more than the horror element. Like those type of movies, like for me, real life horror films like war films and films like Requiem for a Dream, which is another film I think is a masterpiece, but I can't watch again.
I feel like that's probably why Jenna got a lot more ghostly interactions from the house than some of us, because what she had to be in mentally. I mean, she had to go through some of that mentally as the human had to, going through as the actor. So, a lot of us weren't necessarily having to put our mind in that space. So I feel like she probably got affected a heck of a lot more versus me that, my character and myself was like, there's nothing going on here.
It's interesting how the house would play off her character's psyche in addition to her personal one, or on top of that.
I mean, Mark will tell you that when you have to get into some of those characters, especially for periods of time, there's this, you and character have to do this to an extent. Otherwise, it's just becomes acting.
Well, Tom Cruise and Christian Bale are living proof of that on an insane level. Well, actually, Mark, you worked with Tom Cruise, right, in American Made.
Mm-hmm.
did you work with him like in depth? Because I know you said you worked opposite him. Did you work? I didn't see the movie yet. I have to see it. I'm behind on so many movies,
It's
even
a
on
good film.
classic.
Yeah, I worked with him for about 2 months.
Wow.
I play as co-pilot, so I spent a lot of time sitting next to him on a plane. Yeah.
Wow. I went to when they released Maverick. I was told they were going to have Tom Cruise or Tom Cruise's stunt guy from Maverick at this. I think it was July 4th. I don't remember. Maybe it was before. It was July 4th. There was an airfield out on Long Island where I'm from, where I live, and we went there and they had this guy looks exactly like Tom Cruise. So it was just weird taking a photo, and he looks like from the teeth to the, even when he takes his glasses off, but he sounds like him. So everybody's taking photos like, and some people could tell he's not Tom Cruise, but like when you meet him, he looks and sounds exactly like him. So they did like as a thing. So they had one of the planes he flew. But yeah, he's actually Carrie Elwes, who I know from Glory, is going to be in Mission Impossible 7 with Tom this coming, I think, June or July. So I'm so
Hopefully
excited.
Tom watches this and hears us say nice things about him.
What?
Hopefully Tom watches this and hears us say nice things about him.
I would hope that. Yeah, I'm sure he's a hard person to get to connect with if you don't know him personally. No, I grew up on it.
I wouldn't make it about Tom Cruise, but he is the one of the most amazing actors to work with. His expectations are extraordinarily high, but it comes from a place of let's make a great movie. Like, there's just no ego. It's just he worked just as hard as everyone else, and he was kind to everyone. So yeah, I've got nothing but good things to say about Cruise.
I can't find that picture. I can't find that picture because it's in the deep archives. But I will send it to you and we can post it. And
so you mean like the hole in the bottom of the house, the plantation,
it's
like that deep,
so
or
down
even
there?
deeper?
It's probably deeper than that.
Dean, maybe you could bring it out of there when you come, or the entity could bring it out with you when you come out of the closet.
We'll see how much strength I have on the way out.
Yeah, Mark, we were saying that Alexis said it was deep in the archives. It said, is it deeper than the hole in the bottom of in the basement of the, and I said, Dean, maybe you could bring them out of there when you come out of the, as the entity when you come out of the closet. Anyway, I know.
Mark's the one who drugged me in it.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
This is super fun.
Not drugged me in it.
Not that.
Dragged.
Dragged. Wow. Well played.
You look confused. So let me clarify.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna have to rewatch this interview to see if I'm my hearing's off or Dean was. Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you again. Is there anything else you'd like to tell before we leave? And also, I'm gonna want you all to tell everybody where to catch anything they want to follow, anywhere, social media or websites to follow you on, and obviously, to watch the film. Even though I know Nico had Jaelyn threaten everybody in case they don't, but go ahead.
Alexis, why don't you hit them with where they can see the film?
So Amazon Prime is a really good place to grab it. You can rent and buy in all these places, Apple TV, iTunes, Vudu. It's also on places like Comcast, Spectrum, Fandango, Redbox, all those places right now. And it's starting to go international as well. So right now it's mostly domestic in the US, but we're in about, I guess, almost 1,000 theaters right now. We've already been in the Philippines, and it was like, that was one of the first places we were, and we hit like 50 theaters it was awesome. So we were in the Philippines, Australia coming up next too. So we're going country by country here. So you can check us out in all those places. As far as social media goes, TikTok, everything for a Savannah haunting is just at a Savannah haunting. So we're on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, always a Savannah haunting, and you can follow us in all those.
Same for me. Everything's that at the Dean West for all my socials.
Smart product or self-placement. Mark?
Yeah, I'm whatever. I'm on a lot of social media. I don't, W. Mark McCullough, if anyone wants to look. I'd much rather you go to a Savannah haunting stuff.
Yeah.
Than
Sorry, for you like froze for a second. I want to make sure I'm talking to Mark and not the entity.
Exactly.
Exactly. That would have been quite an episode if we got both of you. Anyway, guys, thank you again for coming on. I would love to try to have you guys on again in the near future, or was again soon, and hopefully when there is any news or even mention of a sequel publicly, that would be the perfect time to advertise and have you guys on again. Who knows? But you know what I say. Better late than pregnant. Don't quote me on that. I'm just kidding. Anyway, thank you again, guys, and have a great night. Okay.
Thanks for this, Greg. It was really great questions.
Always, and we'll be in touch. I asked some more questions, but it's late and it's 11:11. Everybody make a wish.
Oh,
sleep well, guys. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.